Hey guys, this is Gene Jensen, and the weather sucks outside. Once again, Ryan really wanted to go fishing today because the Patriots won last night, and the Falcons lost. I'm not really an NFL fan, so I had no horse in the show, but it was fun to watch him go crazy last night. So anyway, so we're sitting here and we were trying to come up with a video idea to do real quick so we can get stuff packed in the boat and ready for tomorrow. We're going to take a trip up to Lake Chickamauga. And so the video we're going to do today is, what is the video we're going to do today? Oh,
the top five late winter
baits. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So the video we're going to do today is the top 5 late winter baits, right? Yeah, we're going to do the late winter baits. So stay tuned. So hopefully I got all the brain parts out of the way, and we're going to let Ryan go through the first one. Pick one from the deal and let's talk about it.
Okay. Well, the first thing is that late winter, it's kind of weird because you got fish kind of all over the place. You have fish that are kind of getting into pre-spawn mode, and then you have fish that are still out deep, kind of doing their winter thing. So, you know, these 5 baits that we have kind of cover both of those categories of fish, because you got the fish are kind of starting to spread out right now. You got that you have that first wave of spawners that are going to be moving their way up, and then you still have fish that are on the end of main lake points, humps, creek channels, sitting in 30-40 feet of water. So anyway, I'm going to start out with my favorite bait is the jerkbait. This is a Strike King KVD 300 series deep diver. Jerkbaits, suspended jerkbaits are killer. Whether the fish are a little bit shallower, whether they're deep, it just presents a really easy meal for the bass. So the deep diving suspending jerkbaits are definitely my preference in colder water versus the shallower diving crankbaits, or the shallower diving jerkbaits. So number 1, deep diving jerkbait.
All right, number 2 is perhaps my favorite one. As soon as that water temperature gets up into the high 40s, low 50s, it's working its way up to 60, and the bass are moving back further and further back towards the beds, I'm pulling up a lipless crankbait. I've got a video, and I'll link to it right here, about a lipless crankbait, and then I've got a jerkbait video that I'll put a link up, and everything else. We're going to link up to all of these things, both here in the cards and down in the description. But a lipless crankbait, this is a red-eye shad. I like throwing the old Excalibur one knockers that they don't make them anymore. I know I think Yum sells them now. But
Yozuri,
yeah,
Rattling Vibe.
The Rattling Vibe, it doesn't matter. Just a really good lipless crankbait that you can have an erratic action to. Start and stop it, yo-yo it, whatever. The video that I make covers it up. But it's a lipless crankbait. You really get, I mean, this time of year when it's in the 40s and 50s, if you can get on a lipless crankbait bite, they choke it. They get it all the way down in their gut, and you're not going to lose them. So that is my favorite. That's what I'll always have tied on. Ryan, what's next?
All right, we got flat-sided crankbaits. Like I was saying earlier, you got those fish kind of spread out, and that's why I have I like 2 or 3 different size flat-sided crankbaits tied on. The first one I like to start out with is if it's warming up a little bit. If you've had a couple warm days, those inside weed edges, riprap, laydowns, they're gonna hold some heat. That shallow water is gonna be a little warmer than that deeper water, and the fish can push up into that. And that is when you're gonna throw a shallower flat-sided crankbait.
It amazes me how fast those fish will move up to. There'll always be a group of fish that gets to the back of the creek before you think they ought to, or gets up shallow up against that riprap.
I've seen a degree or 2 difference, and they're
they make a beeline to the back.
And then so this flat-sided crankbait's good for like I was saying, shallow water, riprap, grass lines, even the secondary points that are getting farther back into the spawning pockets. As you pull out and you're targeting those fish that are still more in that winter mode, they're still going to most likely be pushing up on the points, but you're going to have to get down a little deeper, and that's where I like to throw a flat-sided crankbait that dives a little bit deeper. Again, these colors are crawfish colored, because that's what you're trying to imitate.
Yep. And the reason we're trying to imitate the crawfish are because this time of the year, when the water temperature's in really cold, all the way up to the high 50s, even beyond that, but since we're talking about that water temperature, the crawfish are really, really active. And we're going to go with these type of crankbaits. This is through our experience. We have found out that we catch more fish and bigger fish this time of the year on crawfish colored crankbaits, crawfish colored moving baits, and jigs, which we'll get to in just a second. Another thing about but I've noticed about flat-sided crankbaits is some days they want a loud bait, and same thing with the Lipless Crankbait, a loud bait. But a lot of days they want something that's not very loud, really subtle noise. That's why I like this 6 cents bait, and that's why I like, you know, the Strike King flat-sided with a little bit deeper bill. Same thing with the sharp hook Spro with the Spro. They all have this subtle little rattle in it. This is a little bit deeper, more of a knocker. This is just a little high-pitched rattle. Same thing, but it's really, really subtle, and I tend to get more bites in the colder months on subtle little baits. But there's that period of time on the very first warm up, or like Ryan says, a period of a few days that are warmed up, and they get to into the shallow water where they're surprisingly active, and you can catch them on Lipless Crankbaits.
Another thing too about loud rattles, not many rattles, one knockers, silent, is that you know, we're getting to a time now where tournament anglers, the tournaments are starting. You got a lot of guys coming out and fishing because, you know, it's a little bit warmer, not much warmer, but a little more tolerable. So if you got, you know, someone going down an area chucking a rattle trap, and then another guy comes down chucking a rattle trap, those fish are going to kind of be a little standoffish to that noise. Even if you go down an area, and if you go down a bank, or if you go down a point or cut, whatever you're fishing, and you pick up a couple nice fish on a Lipless Crankbait or a louder flat-sided crankbait, go through that area again with something that's either silent or that has a one knocker in there, because that'll, you know, the fish that shied away from those baits that were really noisy, you know, they could completely turn on to the fact that this bait is quiet. It's one of the ways to really kind of milk a spot for all it's worth. And, you know, in a tournament situation where you're running out of room, or you're on a community hole, you want to try to throw something a little bit different that the other guys aren't throwing. So there's going to be a heck of a lot more lipless lipless crankbaits thrown than there is, you know, something with a tungsten knocker or something that's completely silent.
Yeah, and then you ask yourself, why a flat side over maybe a wider crankbait? The flat-sided crankbait has a tighter wobble. And this time of the year, everything's slow. Everything's not as active. And so a bait fish isn't going to make a lot of really crazy back and forth, left to right motions and things like that. They're going to be moving really tight, and the bass you tend to want to match the bass's mood with that tight wiggle. So that's why we're throwing flat-sided and lipless crankbaits, and we're trying to match their mood.
And the lipless crankbait is really, I mean, it's pretty well known across the country that it's a phenomenal late winter pre-spawn bait. A flat-sided crankbait's the same thing, other than the fact that you can just work it through cover differently.
Yep.
You get two different kind of strikes really with a lipless crankbait. You know, you're gonna rip the bait out of the grass. You're gonna, you know, be yo-yoing it up and down. With a crankbait, when you bump something, the bite you're going to get is because of the deflection and the change in direction. Or when you bump into a stump, or you go into a lay down or some rocks, you can let the crankbait float back out of there. So two different kind of bites, two different kind of looks. Really important that you make sure to cover an area that if you're not, you know, whether you know there's bass there and you haven't caught them, or you've already caught some and you just want to give them a different look, make sure to go down those high percentage areas with those two different kind of baits, because one can really outfish the other, and you can clean out a spot by doing that.
Yep. So the next one, last but not least, probably my favorite bite is a jig bite. I love when the bass just crush it. But with a jig this time of the year, there's certain things you got to know. You're never going to see a jig go flying 500 miles into the air. So this yo-yoing a jig and things like that, and this ripping a jig like I do in the summertime, I don't do it when I'm trying to imitate a crawfish on the bottom. And this time of the year, everything's slow. Excuse me, my nose is itching. You cast it out, you drag it a little bit and drag it a little bit, maybe give it a little hop but not a big hop, throw some rattles on there, make a little bit of noise. But that trailer, everybody else always asks me, what trailer do I use for jigs? This time of the year I'm trying to use a trailer that doesn't have a whole lot of action. I've got a twin tail grub on here known as a Menace. And the Rage Menace, what I'll do is I'll take a pair of scissors, and I don't have a pair, and not a whole lot of time to show you, is I'm just going to clip a couple of the tips off of it and reduce the amount of chop and action that bait has. It doesn't have a whole lot of beef to it, so that doesn't increase the bulk of the jig much. I'm not going to put a whole lot of skirt on it, and I'm just going to drag it and drag it. Football jigs are good. Any kind of jig that doesn't lay on its side is good. Football jigs, brush jigs, arky jigs are some of my favorite to drag. Anything like that are really, really good.
And guys, it's kind of a common theme here. Okay, so we got the jerkbait. You throw a jerkbait, you let it sit. It's an easy meal for a bass. When a bait fish is dying, it's gonna sit still, and then every once in a while get a little kind of flutter, kind of flutter around and then sit still again. That's worth the bass's time to come and eat it. It's worth it for it to come up out of deep water if it can see it. It's worth it to come off a piece of cover if it can see it. But other than that, everything here is crawfish related. Yep. The craws are active right now. They're easy for the bass to eat. Okay, so when a bass is attacking a bait fish has any direction in the water column to go to escape that bass, and that's why a lot of times you see bass push bait fish up to the surface, because it's kind of a way to pin them, to make sure that it cuts off some of that escape route. With crawfish on the bottom, when a crawfish is moving along the bottom, you've taken out half of the playing field of where this bait can escape to. A crawfish can either go left, right, forward. He can't really shoot off the ground; it's too cold. So it's a really easy meal for a bass, and that's why they can simply just come down and pin it to the bottom, pin it to the rocks, wherever that crayfish is crawling around at, and it's an easy meal for a bass. If they pick up a couple of these in a day, they're set, and they've got themselves a meal that's going to hold them over, until the next time they want to eat. I mean, it can hold them over for a couple days. So this common theme here is that the only bait fish imitator we have is a bait fish that is super easy to eat. Other than that, it's all about the crawfish. So when they see a crawfish colored lipless crankbait or crawfish colored crankbait moving along down the rocks, it's on the bottom so they can pin it down. It's so much easier. The bass seems so much more willing to bite it because it's such a they use a lot less energy, and this time of year bass are all about the energy that they use to get their food, because their metabolism is really slow, and they don't want to chase anything. So take that in consideration. The crawfish is on the bottom, and there's not a whole lot of places it can run. But once it comes out and a bass is seeking it and it's locked on it, it's over with. So
and it's a high protein, easy meal for them, so they're keyed in on crawfish, and so that's why we're choosing all of the crawfish baits that we can. May go back to something like a shad pattern if there's a lot of shad in the area, but I just got this one because I wanted to show you guys the rattles. So that's that. These are our 5 baits, the 5 baits that we like to fish. These will be tied onto my rod tomorrow. We can go to Chickamauga or somewhere close where I can get them on a rod really, really quick. And I'm going to be fishing these from now until the water temperature gets into the high 50s, almost into 60, and then I'm going to go looking for spawning fish. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'd like to thank Ryan once again for helping me. Ryan wants me to promote his little Instagram page, his Instagram account. You guys go follow him on Instagram, those who have it. I think he has like 100 followers maybe.
I got some good videos on there that I've recorded for you guys to learn more.
So he's got this tiny little, no, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so go do that. Anything that's in this, like I said, you guys go back and watch the cards. I'm gonna put the cards up for all of the videos that are pertain to these baits. I'm gonna put them down in the bottom so you guys can go and learn more about each individual bait. Maybe even a playlist or two. So be sure to check those out. I'm gonna start doing that a lot in my videos. But subscribe to my channel. But like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get on the water, go out and catch some fish. Have a great day. You got anything to say, Ryan?
I would say that really an important thing for the next couple of days is if you see a Falcons fan, just give them a hug. Give them, just hold them tight.
Shut up,
because they need to be consoled right now after what happened to them last night.
This poor guy. Anyway, thank you guys.